Thanks for sticking around. The final speaker here. I'll try to keep this short but sweet. Everybody just take a second and fan the person next to you with any sign you have. Yeah, doesn't that feel good? Well, anyway, being up here today reminds me of a day not so long ago, back in January 15th. I was in front of LA County USC Medical Center with Kamala Harris doing a rally. Was anybody here at that? That's great. Yeah, well, you may remember that was a very different time. Things looked pretty bleak then. We were staring down the inauguration of Donald Trump about a week away. We had a Republican Congress that had voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act in the past, and it looked inevitable. But today, we're in a very different place. We're in a different place because of the hard work that each and every one of you put in to organize and make democracy work. Dedicated citizens across the country put in countless hours attending rallies, calling their legislatures, organizing people to make their voices heard and make our lawmakers understand that real people's lives were at stake. Our lives were on the line. On one of these activist expeditions I engaged in not too long ago with Doctors for America, I found myself sitting in the office of Senator John McCain in Washington, D.C. and telling the story of how the Affordable Care Act would hurt my patients. Just as all of you have worked to tell the story of how the Affordable Care Act would hurt you, your families, your friends, and your fellow Americans. I told them about a patient I had named Andrew. Andrew was a young man in his mid-20s that I saw in an emergency department here in LA County in 2013, just months before people started getting enrolled in the Affordable Care Act. Andrew came into the emergency department with his hand swollen to the size of a balloon. He'd gotten in a fight the week earlier, and his hand just kept getting bigger and more painful since. He kept hoping it would get better, but it wasn't, and now it looked infected. I asked him why he didn't come into the emergency department sooner, why he didn't come in when it first happened. And he looked at me sheepishly, almost ashamed, and he said, "Well, Doc, I don't have insurance, and I didn't think I could afford it." Sadly, Andrew developed a raging infection in his hand. He required surgery to remove the infection, and he lost much of his hand as a result. If we had seen him the day of the injury, this might have been prevented. Now there's a 28-year-old man walking around somewhere out there in Los Angeles who doesn't have a hand because he was afraid he couldn't afford the care he needed. This is heartbreaking, it's wrong, and no one should have this happen to them in the United States of America. Yeah.